Good evening, everyone. I am a proud bookworm. If you don't see me reading a book right there before bed, or a book with me in the car, or in my hands when I'm out and about, call 911 because there's clearly something wrong. I normally don't talk about the books that I read here on my channel, with the notable exception of the top 10, top 14 books I read in 2019. Ooh, be on the lookout for top 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 books that I read in 2020 coming out in the next month or so. Anyways, I did finish reading a book concerning a topic that is near and dear to me. I'm talking about Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam. This is a book about community organizations and social capital. What is social capital? Basically, what we now know as networking. Who do you know? Who knows you? And how both of those parties could solve each other's problems. That is social capital. The most successful people have high amounts of social capital. However, you could be someone with an Ivy League education, have the world's highest IQ, and know a dozen languages, but if you have a garbage network, you ain't going anywhere. Sorry. Anyways, Putnam noticed that in America, social capital was overall at its peak during the 1950s, but since then has started to decline gravely. This all happened because after World War II, we had all these heroes coming in from overseas, and for them to integrate back into American community life, and also to make up for years or months of not being here, they started getting heavily involved in community organizations, fraternities, service clubs, groups like the Knights of Columbus, the Shriners, the Masons, Kiwanis, Rotary, groups like that, groups that serve for them to become more engaged with the community, but also to expand their networks and their social capital. As the years have gone by, communities have started growing, commuting times have gotten longer. We're now spending less and less time in church, which Putnam says is an underrated ground for networking and social capital. What else? Now that we're spending more time watching TV, Putnam says that we now as a society are investing less hours into social capital, into being civically engaged, and we are now just devoting more time towards what we like and our job alone. The problem is that what we like and our job alone might not necessarily be the perfect grounds to increase our social capital, to increase our connections, to increase our networks. That was the crux of the issue that Putnam was talking about when he wrote that book in the year 2000. The year is now 2020. Boy, how things have changed. You don't know how bad I want Mr. Putnam to rewrite a 2020 version of Bowling Alone. Putnam ends the book with a chapter that's a manifesto of sorts, where he outlines what we need to do as Americans to rekindle and reignite the high levels of social capital that we once had in the 1950s and 1960s. He wants us to, he says, God forbid for there to be a global disaster, a global or national disaster to unify us the way World War II unified America, as the perfect ground for social capital to grow. He was also hoping for more civic engagement, for our jobs to encourage us to pursue connections and social capital, and for us to spend less time watching TV. Oh my God, Robert, you don't know. You don't know what was waiting for us. Guys, COVID-19. Oh my goodness. Everyone just wants to go out, see their friends, make new friends. But I mean, potentially, guys, there could be potentially, guys, after COVID, we might start seeing more people being more involved with their community. Okay, that's one. Number two, the very first chapter, or one of the first chapters of Bowling Alone, talks about how America, around the year 2000, weren't as civically engaged with their communities because voting membership, the percentage of people that voted was on the decline. In the year 2020, we've never seen people vote as hard as at any election at all. Putnam hopes that if this were to happen, people would notice, oh my goodness, I actually have an impact in this community. Maybe I should join other organizations because I count, because I matter. And yes, that is true. Now, the thing is, it is up to the organizations that I mentioned earlier, Rotary, groups like that, for them to advertise on social media now that they are the perfect engine for the community to participate in so they could further their own impact. Now, in some circles, religion is starting to increase. Of course it is. Thank God it is. Due to things like the election, the pandemic, all these natural disasters, people need some comfort in their lives, some divine wisdom. And like I said, like Putnam said, the church is perhaps the most underrated ground for networking, for people to have more connections for their own lives. I'm going to speak right now on behalf of the millennials. We have it rough in terms of student debt. Geez, it's the reason why people around my age are very, very frustrated with the system. They're starting to explore different types of socioeconomic systems, socialism, capitalism. I don't blame them. I understand why they would think that way. I'm frustrated at my student debts too, while the most successful people in the world are just getting richer and richer. I understand why that is the case. I understand our frustration. The thing is, we cannot wait for government to do something about it, because they won't. Because their corrupt asses won't do it for us. What we can do, however, is leverage social media, leverage these organizations to fight for ourselves. Millennials need social capital in order to succeed. Right now, I'm going to speak strictly from my perspective. I'm involved with 3-4 groups, organizations, here in the community, here in Brownsville, Texas. I am the youngest, most active member in all of them. The thing is, yes, we do get millennials joining every now and then, but they show up, they say hi, I'd like to join, then 2-3 meetings later, we never hear or see from them again. This is the perfect ground for them to cultivate new connections, networks, possibly a better opportunity for them to get better paid, for them to have a better lifestyle. Millennials need social capital now more than ever. But we're not taking full advantage of the wonderful organizations that surround us. Finally, the last thing that gives me a little bit of hope would be the fact that Joe Biden is the upcoming president of the United States. I don't agree with everything he has to say. However, he has made it his goal to unite America, not to not be a president for the red states or for the blue states, but for the United States, is what he claims to achieve. I am so for that. The thing is, going back with the millennials and the community organizations, the median age in all these groups that I'm a part of, I want to say is 55. People towards that age tend to think more conservatively, whereas millennials tend to think more liberally. With the state of American politics as it is and how divided we effing are, if a millennial hears these kinds of opinions, they might be tempted to leave. I've disagreed with a whole bunch of things that I've heard. Don't take me wrong, but you gotta look past that if you want to fully embrace an organization. If you fully want to embrace a community organization, you gotta realize that you're both there for a common goal. If you're part of Rotary Club, for example, young and old, you are both there to serve the community. If you're part of Toastmasters International, young and old, you are both there to improve and support each other's public speaking skills. Everyone there in the club is there to build bridges and not to divide walls or form cliques within those organizations. Oh my God, that's the worst. I'm optimistic that quite a few of us might see that 2020 might provide us with great grounds to build social capital upon. With the internet making information more readily available, with the internet also providing us skills to prove unto others that we do have the know-how to solve their problems. The one hindrance is exactly that, the internet. We now carry it with us everywhere we go. Putnam was talking about how since we've been spending more and more time looking at the TV as opposed to volunteering or going to church, Putnam says the television has decreased our social capital, or at least is a factor for it. Nowadays, we have our smartphones to rot our minds on. Go to any elevator, go to any subway, go to any park bench, you will see everyone inevitably watching the damn 3-inch by 5-inch, or however the dimensions are, screen. If I were Putnam, I would be even more scared that, oh my God, people are spending more time on their phones than they did on their TVs. And not just that, but on their computers, seeing things like Netflix and YouTube, that they're not being as active in the community as people did in the 1950s and 1960s. And that's one more thing. People back in the day, they would use these organizations as an outlet to socialize. Nowadays, we don't need to be part of a fraternity or a civic club. We could socialize within our own friend group. We could interact with a Reddit community to also unite based on a common interest. Fandoms exist. The thing is, none of those can be put on a resume. None of those are a method of social capital that serve to make us more successful, usually. Our heavy use of smartphones would be the biggest con that I see if I were Robert Putnam living in 2020. The thing is, I'm optimistic. I hope that more of us start seeing the blessings that surround us, considering we have COVID wanting us to reconnect again, a high voter turnout that might encourage us to be even more participative and civically engaged, rising religion for us to unite in a peaceful, moral, encouraging environment, as opposed to our frustration, for millennials to channel their frustration into a productive outlet to get us out of that stupid rut of student debt by increasing our networks and therefore our opportunities. And finally, hope for a more united America. Yeah, that'll get us to build more bridges within ourselves, within the community. Yeah, hopefully we'll see an increase in social capital. That is what America needs. That is what millennials need. We're so frustrated, and it hurts me to see everyone so frustrated. Speaking from someone who's very involved in organizations here in town, I want to see people add something worthwhile to their resumes while at the same time serving their communities. The 2020s are going to be a very interesting decade, both for America, for millennials, for everyone. But hopefully, we'll come out of it with stronger social capitals and wonderful opportunities for all. With that, I say, have a good one, take care, kick ass.